like Chandler said, I'm at Wando and I teach econ all day. I am part of Wando's graduation committee and I sponsor the econ challenge teams at Wando. And I'm here today to explain the process of competing in the econ challenge and to give you some tips and answer any questions that you have. More than anything, I would like to promote involvement in it. We are referencing it as the econ challenge, but it's morphed into something better than that, econ day, where we all come together and teachers get to meet each other and students from all over the state get to meet each other and stuff. And they get to go on campus at USC and go through these many lectures and whatnot. So, I mean, I really love econ day, and it's nice to take the students off campus and see them, you know, in a different way. So I really love econ day. But if you want to, in the chat box, I think we have time for this. If not, stop me, Chandler. If you want to type in what school you're at and if you've ever participated in the econ challenge, then we could do that. All right, so we got Stephanie from Fairfield Central High School, ready to learn about it. Like that enthusiasm. Anyone else want to put in where they're from? Or
I see some vigorous typing going on.
Okay. East Side, Richard Robbins. Randy Clark.
Looks like we got lots of fresh meat.
Yeah, Central High. Well, Chandler was talking about maybe doing a middle school econ challenge thing, and I love that idea.
Yeah, I just saw that. So we don't currently have a middle school, but if you listen to this presentation and you are interested, I would love to pilot the middle school with you. So just know that that is a possibility, and we can talk about that later. But generally right now it is just a high school, but if middle school does interest you, there is the possibility of launching it at the middle school. We haven't really had a lot of interest at the middle school level, but hey, why not, right? So
yeah,
awesome.
Okay, well, great. That's awesome. All right, so we've got some newbies is what you were saying. Let's go through how it works. I was really looking to, sorry, we're dealing with technology right now. I'm gonna put myself. All right, so creating teams, and here's the testing window for this year, the 15th through the 26th. When you're creating teams of, 3 or 4, you have to have either 3 or 4 team members. It's a lot better to have 4. I always tell my students I'd rather have 4 brains than 3 brains. And that's very true with this because their talents are different. And so when you get, 4 students, you're gaining additional talents, and especially if you make it to the quiz bowl round at the very end, you're going to want 4 people up there. So you definitely want to try to get 4 if possible. I actually start talking to my students about it from the very beginning. I don't put pressure on them at the beginning. I don't ask them to sign up. But as we get closer to January, I start to ask them to think about it a little bit more. And then in January, like the first week back from break, I'll have an informational morning meeting and kind of explain to them the commitment and the time frame and all of that. And they need to commit within like 2 or 3 days. And then after that, I send a Google survey, and I do give them some ownership in it. I ask them to list 3 other people they would like to work with. And I also ask them if there's somebody that they don't want to work with, because there's nothing worse than getting students together that don't want to be together. So that's how I kind of put the teams together in the beginning. And if you go to SC Economics, now this link took me straight to the Econ Challenge part of their page. But if you just go to their webpage and click on contest, here's what you would want the Econ Challenge right here. And there's a lot of information on here for you to look at. Here's the prizes for this year, but usually They offer additional prizes for students who have the highest micro test or have the highest macro test or what have you. You can click on register or state. And registering your teams is like one of the easiest things I've ever done online. Like you just fill in your information and then you start filling in your students and their team name and whatnot. And over here, you've got easy access to any information you may need. And they even offer this practice test. So you could have your students take the practice test to see, you know, what they're up against and see how the questions are formatted. But there's a bunch of information here if you wanted to look over that. We're kind of condensing everything with this PowerPoint. But the qualifying test is 45 questions in 40 minutes. Of course, it's online. The students work individually and there's no calculators or outside resources allowed. It's not a controlled testing environment, but we're really relying on the honor code with this. And the scores are going to be calculated using the highest 3 scores. So the lowest score will be dropped. Let's see. And here's our testing window right now. When you decide to actually take the qualifying test, I like to, if I can, have the teams together, not all the teams together, but I like to have each team together because there's a rule with starting the clock for the test. When the first person on the team opens it, I think in total, I think it gives them like 60 minutes or an hour for all 4 students, but each individual test is only going to be 40 minutes. So I'm pretty sure that's the rule again this year. So you just have to watch that. And here are some pictures from the econ day. And I'll just give you a brief rundown of how the econ day works. So the students get there in the morning and they take the 3 tests that are required: micro, macro, and international current events. And then after that, you eat lunch and you, like I said, go to those mini lectures that they have set up. The professors that lead these mini lectures are excellent. They're, you know, entertaining and they have simulations for them to do. And so the students are definitely engaged and they get to walk around and visit the Darla Moore building and see everything that it has to offer. And then after that, the top 2 teams will go head to head in a quiz bowl round for first place. And that's always interesting when that happens. And then after that, you know, if you're getting a trophy, you get a trophy and everybody goes home and stuff. But it's a good time with your students. And SE Economics does a really good job of being mindful of everyone's time and making use of it and whatnot. So it's great. So here are the 3 tests that I referenced. Microeconomics, the students are going to test individually. Same thing for macro, 15 question test in 20 minutes. And you see here again, they're taking the highest 3 scores as an average. And then the last round is international and current events. And the group gets to test together. So each team will submit 1 answer sheet. And they really like this round. They kind of look forward to that. They're like, oh, we've gotten through the micro and macro. Now we can all come together and put our heads together and get through this. And then they add all of this up. And like I said, the top 2 teams will go head to head in quiz bowl. Here is an example of some of the questions that you would see on the test, whether it be the qualifying test, the test at the econ challenge, or if you go beyond that and you represent the state. If you're looking at this, you can see that it's basically AP exam questions. So, you know, you got one right here over economic growth. This one's over monetary policy. This is a macro question. Giving everybody a second to look at them.
So I'm going to interrupt you 2 seconds and just explain that there are 2 different categories. There is David Ricardo, which is what the DR stands for, and there is Adam Smith, which you'll see in a few seconds. David Ricardo is for our own level economics students or students who just have interest in economics. Adam Smith is for our AP IB students. So they're a little more complex. They're going to require them to do a little more math. It's really going to look more like an AP exam. We try for our David Ricardos to really look like what would come out of our classrooms as econ teachers. What are some of the questions that we would ask them? So we're really, try to get a survey of teachers who, are involved with us and even outsiders to help us create these test questions. Now, the qualifying test that the students take online, that is completely out of our control. That is created by the national organization. But the questions that happen at Econ Day, we do have a little bit of control over, and we like that because then we can kind of vet, some teachers and say, have you covered this? Have you not covered this? And we really look at the economic standards. So for example, we started building the new David Ricardo based off of the new econ standards, and they actually just upgraded the AP test. And so we were doing some reflection on those questions as well. So just know that we try to change things as the state changes things, as College Board changes things, et cetera. And we want feedback. And we look at our scores, and if our scores are really low, that means our tests are too hard. If our scores are really high, maybe our tests are too easy. And so we take that feedback every single year. And we want it to be competitive. We don't want kids to be afraid of competing in these competitions, but we do want to make sure that they realize that this is a little bit of a competition. So you've got to do some studying, you've got to do some awareness. You can't necessarily just roll out of bed and be, a 10 out of 10. So, I mean, some of y'all are a 10 out of 10 when you roll out of bed, but that's beyond the point. All right, I'll turn it back over.
That's a good point too. I didn't even think about that. But even these David Ricardo questions right here, I mean, they could easily be on the AP exam, These are two great questions. So that's helpful, you stepping in and explaining that to everyone, because I don't really have a part in all of that. I don't have a part in writing the questions and whatnot. And then here's the Adam Smith questions. And again, here's the micro questions over here, measures of cost question with the ATC and the ABC. And then you've got a pretty good macro question over here about the multiplier effect. And she is right, it is going to get a little bit more mathy for the Adam Smith division, because we do use numbers to reflect the theories more so with that. All right. Once the scoring is done, the top two teams are announced and they go head to head in a quiz bowl round. And I'm going to throw in some tips with some of this stuff right here. So only responses from the team captain will be considered. Do not wait until the day of to appoint a team captain. That's too stressful for students. So when the teams are set, I let them choose their team captain. I have the final say, because there's three characteristics that I'm looking for in a team captain. One, they have to be able to think fast. Two, they've got to be able to speak clearly. And three, they cannot be shy. Now, not every team captain that I've used before has hit all three metrics, but one that's non-negotiable with me is I can't have somebody up there who's shy, because standing up there, quiz bowl round, they get a little nervous and self-conscious and whatnot. And if someone's already kind of struggled with being shy, it just proves to be a little bit too much. And then the other teammates will get frustrated with them and whatnot. So you definitely want to pick someone who wants to be a team captain and who, has the chops to do it. Now, once a team member has buzzed in for a question, the team has 15 seconds for the team captain to give a response. And I know 15 seconds is like, okay, that's a all right amount of time. It's a very short amount of time for kids to figure out what they want to say and get it to the team captain and for them to speak. Now, buzzing in is tricky for the students. They really don't master it, I would say, until the competition's over. I mean, to be truthful with you, they're very sensitive sometimes. And so if they barely press it, it goes off and, they're like, we haven't even read a question yet. students will start to buzz in before the question has been completely read. They'll get an idea as to what direction the question is going in and buzz in, and then think they know the answer. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But at the same time, you don't want to wait too late to answer a question, because the other team will capitalize on that, and they'll start just accumulating all these points, and then it becomes difficult to come back from that. But I do have a funny story to tell you about one of my teams. So my first year at the Econ Challenge, Dr. Stone was the proctor. And I don't know how many of you have ever met Dr. Stone, but he's wonderful, and he's a professor at Winthrop University. And he's been a part of the Econ Challenge for forever. And he started the question and he said, "This is a two-part question." And he began reading the question. And he said, "This is a two-part question. How many Federal Reserve districts are in the US?" But before he could even say the rest of the question, one of my students up there had buzzed in, and her teammates were so mad at her, and she got just all frazzled, and she was like, "No, I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer." And the team captain said, "I don't know 12 and 5. And, after he said 12 and 5, he looked at her and started yelling at her up there at the podium. Everyone's laughing in the crowd. They're arguing. Dr. Stone is just staring straight ahead. And after about 20 seconds of this, it quiets down some, and he leans in towards the microphone and he darts his eyes and he says, "That is correct." And then everyone just started cheering, and it was just kind of chaotic at that point. But then he did read the question. He said the entire question was, how many Federal Reserve districts are there in the US, and which district does South Carolina belong to? And I asked my student, the team captain who gave that answer, 12 and 5, I said, "Oh, did you get a feel for where the question was going?" He said, "Miss Betsill, I didn't even know we were in District 5. He said, "I knew there was 12 and I knew we belonged to Richmond, but I didn't know number 5. He said, "I thought it was a multiplier question. So I just threw a random number out there." And I was like, oh my gosh. So there are some people who still talk about that story. It's like the biggest Hail Mary ever at the Econ Challenge. But that buzzer is very sensitive. And honestly, if you have access to them at your school, maybe your quiz bowl team, a lot of schools have a quiz bowl team that competes throughout the state or throughout your district or whatever. They might have a set. You could ask your school to buy a set if you're that into competing and whatnot, but it does give them some confidence with going up there and dealing with buzzing in and seeing what it's like to only have 15 seconds to give an answer. And you see what happens when you give an incorrect answer. The entire question is read again, and the other team has 15 seconds to answer. So if you give the other team who's up there, they're equally as smart as you are, they've made it that far, then it's almost a guarantee that they're going to get that question right and you're going to lose a point. The winner is first to score 16 or have the most after 30. If there's a tie, and I've had two of my teams go head to head, Wando versus Wando, and it ended in a tiebreaker question. But it's funny with those types of situations because the proctor never gets to finish the question because each team is over there ready to buzz in as soon as they think they have a feel for the question. So kind of makes it interesting. And then here are some pictures of what I'm talking about, the quiz bowl round. I'm really glad that Chandler included this in this PowerPoint. But you can see here's Jim Morris as the proctor that year. We've got some students up there competing, and you see how they're laughing and stuff. I mean, it's fun. They laugh at themselves. They do funny stuff up there. They give crazy answers sometimes, and they cheer for each other. It's just lighthearted fun. And you can see even right here, he's got his little timer thing and all that he keeps up with. All right. Let me move this. The winning team, so if you win the state, you move on to take the semifinals test. And that's online. It's very similar to the qualifying test that the Council on Economic Education uses. And Chandler does a good job of helping coordinate that. So once you get to that point, she helps you a lot with coordinating all of that. And again, they just submit your stuff and then you just get an email as to, when you're going to test, and then they send you your codes just like with the qualifying test. And if you do well enough there, then you get to go and compete in New York. And I've heard that this whole trip is amazing, where they take them to see Wall Street and the Federal Reserve Bank in New York. And, again, you do have to compete against the other top teams in the country, but I've heard it's great. And the prizes there, I don't know, range from $500 to $1,000. So yeah, if you make it that far. So let's talk about the students right now. And it is all about the students. Preparing for the competition helps with AP exam scores. It really, really does. I'll tell you one of the things that I like to do to bring the entire class in, because sometimes students in a class who aren't competing will start to feel like they're getting left out, or this is all about the econ challenge and whatnot. So what I do is I have all of my students in class, not as homework. I have them write 5 extremely difficult multiple choice questions. So the toughest material that they can come up with. And then they partner up with someone and they share their questions and see if they can answer them. And then after, 10 minutes has gone by, then they have to switch and find a new partner and look at their questions. And so it kind of helps to bring everyone in the mix. And at the same time, you're still preparing, and you're also preparing them for the AP exam. So that's something that they like. Being on a team definitely builds relationships and bonds that they're going to remember. Whenever I speak to former students, whether it be running into them outside of school, or maybe they reach out to me because, I don't know, they need something, it never fails that some part of the conversation turns towards the econ challenge. They ask, so how's the econ challenge going this year? You got some, good teams, and what do you think is going to happen? Is it still at USC? So it definitely sticks with them. And even the students that don't attend, like I said, I try to pull them in as much as I possibly can. The years where we've won, that Monday going back to school afterwards, it was nice to see other students just so proud and excited for the winning team. And when I walk in the door, they would say, oh, did we win? Did we win? Not did they win or did y'all win, but did we win? And so that's always good when you can make everyone feel like they're a part of it. Students can list this on their college applications. Now, I'm going to backtrack for a second. I know I said I really don't start putting the teams together until January. Well, college applications are due by like December. So those that think they are going to do it and have intentions of do it, they will go ahead and put it on their college applications. They will put it on scholarship opportunities. I do write the recommendations for a lot of my econ challenge kids because I detail their hard work in preparing for it. Taking AP economics looks great on your transcript, and that you're that involved in it is definitely something that's different and stands out compared to other applicants. So I frequently do write their college recommendation. Now, definitely if it's after the econ challenge, they come to me wanting me to, fill out this for scholarship or fill out this application for something else. And I don't mind doing that at all. And it's free to participate in. So it's good all around. You also get a t-shirt when you participate. So they give you this bag full of goodies. You get pens and a notepad and a tumbler. And these shirts are so cute. SC Economics. 1 year on the back, I think it said, I love econ, but probably my favorite one was the year where they, on the back, they put, we keep it real. And they had the equation for the GDP deflator. I thought that was really cute. But we love getting our matching t-shirts the Monday after the econ challenge. We all plan to wear them. And so we're all matching. And then we also wear our t-shirts when we take the AP exam. So it's cool. They like it. Those aren't my kids, but those are cute kids. All right. A couple of things that I want to touch on with wrapping this up and then taking any questions you have. I've actually gone a lot faster than I thought I would, but you need to have fun with it. You know, kids respond well when they are having fun, and they also like to be a part of a group. And so those are two big things that I think have helped make my program successful. I've had, you know, teachers ask me, what's your timeline like for planning? Can you show me exactly what you use in terms of like prepping right before the econ challenge and stuff like that? And honestly, I don't even think that's what it is. I'm in the same boat everyone else is with trying to go through micro, macro, stay on top of international, infuse current events, you know, whenever I can at the start of class or at the end of class or something like that. I mean, I'm in the same boat with everyone else, but really just getting them to buy in and having fun with it and being a part of group. I think that's how I've been able to pull the talent that I have and get them vested in preparing. And also too, I really do try to put them on teams with people that they want to be on a team with. And I know I said that I allow them to even request not to be on a team with someone. And that happens sometimes. Honestly, it happens more frequently with my band kids, because our band prior to COVID did quite a bit of traveling, spent all summers together practicing, and some of them had all their classes together and they were just like, I need a break from this person. So you definitely want to make them happy. Don't stress your students out. If they feel like they're going to disappoint their teammates or you, they really don't want to disappoint anyone, then what you're going to get from them is a lot of second guessing. They'll show up to meetings, they won't quit, but you can take the brightest student that you have, and if they feel stressed out or anxiety, they will second guess themselves out of every right answer. And even if you find that, you know, it's too much pressure for a student, and if you gave them the out to not participate, they would take it, give them the out, you know, and see if they take it or not. And if they don't, then, you know, you just got to try to calm their nerves. And if they do, then that's probably best for everyone. But that, I'm gonna tell you right now, that's exactly what you're going to get. They're going to second guess themselves out of every right answer. And then don't push kids to compete who don't want to. I have another story that I want to tell you about a student that I put on one of my teams, my second year going to the econ challenge. And I think he was Wando salutatorian. He was very bright. And it just, micro, macro, everything just came so easily for him. And I asked him if he wanted to do the econ challenge. And he didn't seem that interested in it. But of course, I really wanted this kid to go. So I was persistent. And finally, he was like, whatever, fine, I'll do it. But I shouldn't have pushed him. The first and second time, he was like, no, I'm really not that interested. I should have just left it alone, because he wouldn't go to the meetings that the teams were having. He was just going to study on his own, just really disconnected. The other team members didn't know what he was doing or really what he was offering to the team. And the day that we were set to leave to go to Econ Day and participate in the Econ Challenge, that morning we needed to leave Wando at 6:30 in the morning. And that's cutting it close because it's a 2-hour drive for us to Columbia. He was late. He was really, really, really late. We made it there. We're like running through the doors, and we make it just as Dr. Stone is about to distribute the testing material. So we make it just in time, and they're able to sit and test. But all of that was my fault. I learned a very valuable lesson that day, that I don't care how much talent you think a kid has or how smart they are or how well they do on your test and the potential you see for them. If they don't want to do it, you are not going to get that from them. You're whatever you think you're going to get, you are not going to get from them, because if they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it. So you really want everyone to buy in. You want your kids to be happy on their team. Don't want them to feel stressed. And honestly, once they buy into it, they may not be studying exactly when you want them to, but they are. They are. And their teammates will kind of push each other. And if they see that, someone's not doing this or that, then they kind of say something, and you don't have to do that. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because that was a big lesson that I learned the hard way. And then right here, do something special for your teams after the competition. They really like meeting and being together. And after the Econ Challenge, Econ Day, that kind of stops because it's over. And so what I'll do a couple of weeks afterwards is I'll send a remind text, hey guys, we haven't all been together in the same room. So come by Friday morning for coffee and donuts, and we'll catch up before everyone starts their day, or something like that, just so you haven't forgotten about them. And that makes them feel special and whatnot. Do you have any questions? I've just been going on and on about the econ.
So I'm going to ask you a question. What have you changed? Now, one thing that I want to point out is that this year we are not having Econ Day again. We are super sad about it. But you guys understand, it's just not feasible. It's not worth putting anybody in that situation. So because of that, we have extended the testing window. You guys saw that it starts February 15th and it goes all the way to March 26th. That is unusual. This is the first time that it has ever been that long. And we're simply doing that because we know that this is the only opportunity your students are going to have to compete. And so we want to make sure that we're giving you plenty of time to incorporate it in your schedule. So that being said, whoever places first, second, and third in this preliminary round will be our state champion. So that's how it's going to work this year. Now, next year, we have made a commitment that we are going to do something. Hopefully, it will be in person. Hopefully, it will be the normal Econ Day that we're used to and love. That being said, if we're not there, we're going to try something virtual with. We're gonna get creative. It'll be more. We'll build up some more excitement other than this. Just kind of take this online test and be done. So just know that looking forward, that this is a great year to just expose your students to the test. And for you as a teacher, just to get used to what the process is and how it works and kind of what it feels like. And then next year, you can really kind of put that momentum in and build great teams. So my question for you, Tammy, is what are you doing differently this year than you've done in years before because of this whole hybrid, virtual, et cetera? Have you changed how you do things at all? How are you getting your kids to work together, even if they are in person or not in person, or how is that working?
Well, to be completely honest with you, this year, because we started like 2 weeks or so later than we normally do, and the AP exam dates, they haven't changed. So I've actually just been in preparing for, getting through content for the AP exam. I think we're on track to be ready for the econ challenge and for the AP exam, because we've doubled up on some stuff. But definitely that. I do have some remote kids that are doing well that I would like to put on a team, but it's not going to be possible. They can't come to school and they just kind of feel like they're disconnected and whatnot. So that's not going to happen. But the vast majority of my students are in person. So that helps a lot. And, we'll just have to see how it works with the teams getting together, because like some of the kids, their parents only let them go to school and then they have to come home. So getting them time with their team is going to be a challenge. It's definitely going to be a challenge. But other than that, I mean, that's really all that I've been well, I say that, but my whole schedule has just been different this year. I think everyone can agree.
I think everyone can relate to that for sure. Yeah, and I don't think there is a correct answer. I was just curious, and I think one of the super important things that you do is, especially for this competition, is that you make it a choice. You don't make students take it. Now, if you chose to do that as a teacher, as an educator, you wanted all of your students to take it, that's fine. And I think sometimes you may have to do that, especially on an on-level course. That might be the only way you can get students to participate, is to have everyone do it. So know that either approach is fine. There is no right or wrong way. But especially this year with so much going on, I like that choice option. I know, for example, for Finance Challenge, which is similar to this, except we don't have the elaborate Econ Day or Finance Day attached. In that regard, we do allow teachers some teachers are just doing, their in-person kids on Teams. And even though they would love to do, their virtual kids, it's difficult. And so what I'm saying is we want to support every teacher who participates in this the best way we can. And we trust that you're making the right choice for your classroom, whether you're, having every student test or maybe just a team of 4. So just know that there's flexibility there. It's not an all or nothing situation, that you guys all have the ability to make that choice for yourself and for your students, given, the situation.
I like too how the last time we spoke, you said that teachers shouldn't use that online qualifying test as an assessment. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I'll elaborate on that. That's one of the things, is that this should be for fun. We do not want you guys to look at this. Yes, you're going to be able, the qualifying test, you're going to be able to get the scores from it. You're going to be able to see how they did. But we ask that you not use those as any sort of assessment, whether it's formative or summative. Again, we want to build this as a fun competition that students are excited about and want to participate in, and they'll get some incentive, some reward in the end if they do well. Now, obviously, I can't sit here and tell you don't use it, but I don't, again, when you're first learning about it yourself as an educator, or you're first approaching the idea with your students, I think it's a great, you guys have the window now, February 15th through, March 26th. Maybe it's a Friday afternoon, a Friday activity. You're running fast through your lessons, and then maybe you just throw it in. Again, the structure is up to you. All the input information, super easy. You just have to have your students and the teams. And Tammy does a great job of letting her students have say-so, but maybe you're just not going to do that, and that's okay. I think it's very different when you're doing with regular. I was looking to see Kurt Sickelbauer, which is actually Amanda's husband. He does a great job with on-level econ students. And so if we have anyone in here who has questions about specifically on-level econ students, I'm sure I'll tag him tonight and just tell him, hey, I'm going to include your information in the follow-up email. He'll be happy to answer your questions. So he does a lot. He's actually never had AP students compete. He's only done on-level economics, which is the David Ricardo. So I know that a lot of things, Tammy is an excellent AP teacher, and so she brings excellent AP kids. But just know that this is for both categories. So we try to build these so that they're acceptable for the on-level economic students as well as the AP. Megan dropped a question in the chat that said, what study resources do you recommend other than the practice test? I know that you're probably speak from you just use a lot of the AP resources. I think that there are Quizlets out there. There are things that are already built for on-level resources as far as where to find questions. But really even just using like textbook questions. I'll tell you guys, where we come up with a lot of these questions is I go back and look at some of my former economics tests that I gave my students. Amanda does the same thing. We've got a couple of other people on the test creation line that kind of come up with these. We look at high school level textbooks. We're trying to keep them as acceptable at that same level. So it's just basic. And remember, we're aligning it with the standards and with what the College Board is producing for AP. So if you're covering those things in your classroom, then chances are that's what's going to appear on these tests. And they're not intended to be super, like I said, to be super, super difficult and make the kids stress. They're just intended to do a basic test of their econ knowledge at the David Ricardo, and then a little more deeper dive at the AP.
I like, I know that everyone has access to it, but I think Morton's materials are pretty good. And I've got some of Dr. Stone's stuff that I've gotten through PD and stuff like that. I really am, I like the AP exam questions, but my approach to teaching AP economics that I think has helped me a lot is the multiple choice questions are great, but I really like to use FRQs almost every day in class, because if you think about the FRQs, the questions are basically multiple choice questions without an answer bank. They really are. It's not like APUSH FRQs to where you're just writing and writing for days, and Gov, you're just writing and writing for days. No. There is an answer that they're looking for. And so doing that, it forces them to learn the material and just to do better with it, I think, and instead of relying on a multiple choice answer bank constantly, and that's all that they're seeing, take that away and let's see if you can come up with the answer. So I start using FRQs immediately, and I've even changed them and wrote one, 7:30 in the morning as a warm up, and, tweaked a couple of things here and there. But, and also too, a lot of the problems in micro and macro, you got to do something in order to find the answer. You got to set up, I call them rough graphs. So you got to set up a supply and demand model, or you got to set up a loanable funds market, your little rough graph out to the side. And so if they're doing that constantly with the FRQs, then when they come across it with the multiple choice, then they know, oh, okay, this is what I need to do. And there's a way to solve the problem. So, I mean, that's some of the things that I like to do, but everyone's different and whatnot.
Right. And I think that's fantastic. And for AP level, absolutely. And we need to tag you in for one of our AP webinars, because there's some great hints as to how you instruct your classes. So that's great. The biggest thing is I don't want to scare anybody away who's not AP. We're not going to ask your own level students about loanable funds. Don't worry. Yeah. So do not worry about that. Any other questions for tonight? You're welcome to unmute yourself if you just want to ask, or if you want to type in the chat.
Hey, Tammy, what do you feel like is the biggest struggle, or what's the hardest part for the challenge for the students?
Let me turn you up. What do I think is the biggest struggle for the econ challenge? Getting all the material in. It's so hard to get through micro, macro, and the international part's not that bad because it's more of like dealing with trade, but just covering the sheer content, it just becomes very challenging. But that's what it is. Like you have to cover it. You have to be comprehensive with all of them, or else it's not a good test then. If it's not, I have a question for y'all. Are there any middle school teachers that would be interested in doing like the econ day for middle schoolers and dipping their toes in maybe like a little econ challenge test? Do I have any? I know I got middle school teachers on here.
Oh, I got a list of some that I'm gonna tag here. They're not
She's gonna
speaking
start
up.
calling y'all out.
I'm not gonna call you out, but I know who you are. I know, Sherry. I was about to say, look, I think you typed it. I was like, because I'm gonna call you out. No, that's fantastic. No, I look forward to that. I think that would be really fun, something new to do. Yeah, and so math, social studies, yep, exactly. So it truly all connects together. I think that's fantastic. All right, last call for questions before we get y'all out of here a little early. All right, one last thing I have to talk to y'all about. I'm gonna choke y'all. Hold on, I'm gonna mute myself. Try not to, pull it all together. All right. So Tammy is one of our South Carolina financial literacy master teachers. I know there's some other financial literacy master teachers in here with us today. So shout out to those. But anyone, including you financial literacy master teachers who have attended this session tonight are eligible to receive $100 if you incorporate a financial literacy lesson in your classroom. That can be something like Econ Challenge, or really just anything financial literacy related. So if you plan on doing that in the next couple of weeks, we highly suggest that you go ahead and earn this incentive. I am going to send out a follow-up with Tammy's presentation. I'll include her contact information. I'll get permission from Kirk to include his, just in case anyone has questions about on-level Econ Challenge. And then I will also give you all the details about how you can earn this $100. It's really not that difficult. I know a couple of you have already done it. So I really encourage you to do so and go ahead and get that extra padding for your wallets. Other than that, if you're interested in being a master teacher, if you're not already one and you're interested in becoming one, cohort 3 is open and accepting applications. And I will be happy to talk to anyone about that and answer any questions. Last but not least, I have dropped the evaluation form in the chat. This is the thing that you're going to use to get credit for being with us live in the entire session tonight. So if you'll take a few minutes to fill that out, we are going to ask for your address information. That is simply just so that we can mail you the check. The incentive for the spring is that if you attend 3 sessions with SC Economics live, I think there are 8 to choose from. If you attend 3 of the 8 with us live, that we will send you a check for $50. So that is a great way to get your credit so that you can add up to that $50. I know a couple of you were with us last week. And then I hope you guys are planning on joining us this coming week. We've got MR University coming next Thursday. They're a great resource for our econ teachers. They're coming to talk to us about their new supply and demand resources that you guys will all get access to at no cost for joining us on Thursday night. So if you're not registered for that, I encourage you to do so. Other than that, I'm going to stop talking and let you guys fill out the form. I will stick around if anybody has any questions. Thank you so much, Tammy. We loved it.
You're welcome.